Hello, TGIF. It is Friday, January 25th. To review, before we get to the purpose of this screencast, you have taken notes from one source, MNOpedia, on your topic, another source on the life of your topic, and yet another source on your life of your topic. You probably have somewhere from almost 40 notes at this point on the life of your topic, hopefully. Because today you were supposed to arrive with 10 to 15 new notes on your topic. That's on top of the 15 to 20 you took for source 2 and the 20 to 25 you took from the MNOpedia handout. So now we're ready to change gears a little bit. We're going to do something a little different today, Friday, 125. You're going to be taking 20 to 25 notes, and this is due Monday, 128. So you have the weekend to work on it. More than likely, you're going to have a little bit of homework to wrap this up. Students will work independently to gather these 20 to 25 notes, so you're once again working alone, but I have a different strategy for you. You might want to cover one topic while your partner covers a different topic, and I'll tell you how that works in a second. Number 3, the notes will be taken on the Source 4 note-taking form. That is down here. It's got your name in front of it. It works exactly the same as the Source 1, the Source 2, and the Source 3, but you're going to be taking different information. You're not going to focus on the person's life. You'll see. Number 4, the students, will use a PDF below as a source. You're going to see there's a bunch of PDFs below here. And the sources are all from the History Alive series of history textbooks. So if you're looking for the title of the source, it's called History Alive. And the author is Diane Hart. So this is the info you'd put in your note-taking form. Finally, or not finally, second to finally, 5th, the source will focus on the times in which a topic lived. So students will look at the dates of their topics, birth and death, or lifespan, and determine which event was probably the most impactful. So the PDFs below contain info on several major events from American history that your topics more than likely lived through. It includes slavery. So I'm going to use the Dred Scott example. He was enslaved, so more than likely I'm definitely going to want to read that. The Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Perhaps your person contributed to the Civil War, was a part of the Civil War, 1st Minnesota, for example. You definitely want to read that. Industrialization, some of those big tycoons are like a Sears or a James J. Hill. They lived during the industrialization age and profited during those years. That's the late 1800s. World War I, 1914 to 1920. If your person lived through that, you'd want to know a little bit about it, because if you lived at that time, you would. Great Depression. A lot of your topics lived through the Great Depression, which is in the 1930s. So if your person's lifespan went through the 1930s, more than likely he or she was touched by the Great Depression. World War II, 1939 to 1945. Some of your topics might have served in World War II. Otherwise, they may have lived during World War II. The Cold War, which lasted a long time, 1950s through the 1980s. During the Cold War, the Vietnam War was a part of that. The Korean War was a part of that. The Cold War was something that spanned over that long period of time and definitely would impact people that maybe lived a little bit more recently. My lifetime even spans over the Cold War, which actually ended in about 1989, early 90s. Then we got civil rights. So if your person was a civil rights leader, okay, Roy Wilkins, for example, was the 1950s and 1960s. Definitely want to read that. Or the modern age. If your person is young and let's say serving in Congress right now, like Omar, for example, she would have lived, or she's alive right now, so 2000 to 2010 impacted her. This is the digital age. This is 9/11. These are important events during that time. Okay, so you want to look at your person's lifespan and see what events did they live during, and if you have a partnership, which you all do, your people all lived long lives. One person could cover, let's say, the Great Depression, while the other one covers World War II. So that you're covering 2 events. Just make a decision. Hey, I'll do the Great Depression, you do World War II. Then you're going to be bringing more notes to the table when you bring your notes together, because you're working independently on this. You can also come back to some of these other ones. It might be that your person lived through 3 of these. It's okay to take another notes page down the line on another one of these events. And once again, you're using paraphrase notes, absolutely no copy pasting. Your notes should be short, 3 to 10 words. Make sure you're using your own words and focus on names, dates, places, events, and use shorthand so things move faster. Okay, so now I'm going to use Dred Scott as my example. So if I look at Dred Scott was born in 1799 and he died in 1758, so right before the Civil War. So when I go back to this post, I realize that Dred Scott really only lived during slavery, 1600s to 1865. So I'm confined to this. Now I could probably dig up some other events, like some of the contributing factors to the Civil War, like maybe a Fugitive Slave Act or the Missouri Compromise or something like that. He lived through those events, but I'm definitely going to want to know about slavery because Dred Scott was enslaved. So I'm going to go to my note-taking form. And all of you are actually going to be writing this information in. And I know that the title of the article it's from History Alive, and it's by Diane Hart. All of you are going to have that. Now I'm going to get the specific title in a second. I jump back here, I see slavery, and here you see Civil War, Industrial Revolution, World War I, Great Depression. All those topics I just went through are right here. Well, I'm going to focus on slavery, so I'm going to open this up. Then it gives me some info. It says Slavery from History Alive by Diane Hart, and it's working conditions of slaves from chapter 19. So I might want to start segmenting this, but I'm going to go with just the notion that this title of this is just maybe slavery. Okay, so I'm going to jump back here and just know that this is maybe American slavery. And then I'm going to look at this to get some insights from it. Okay, I know I'm going to learn about working conditions. So I might go back here and, well, I'm going to learn about the working conditions of enslaved people. All right, looking at it again, scroll down. Oh, living conditions. Okay, so not just working, but living conditions. So I'm going to see how they lived. Scrolling ahead, this is a longer one, so if you chose this one, perhaps if you have an enslaved person or you're touching on slavery, you could divide this article in half, but controlling enslaved people. Okay, oops, wrong one. There I am. Enslaved people, and I'm going to put quotes around controlling. Kind of rubs me the wrong way that they really need to be controlled. So quotes around controlling them. And then I'm going to be reading about resistance. That's cool. Oops. So resistance. Excited to kind of read about that to see how enslaved people fought back. Running away, rebellion, and then families. And that looks like that's where it ends. So now I'm going to learn about enslaved families. So all those topics are going to be covered. Then I'm going to want to go back to my article and I'm going to start reading it. I recommend people that work better with a printed copy, print this, and then you can read it from a printed copy. You may be a person that wants to annotate and highlight. Print this, annotate, and highlight. That works really well for a lot of people, and if that's your strategy, or you have strategies in place that allow you to read a lot better and more efficiently when you are reading from a hard copy, go ahead and print this. So taking my notes here, if I have any questions at the end of it, I can take it there. So that's how I complete this form. Back to this and to review. So here's your task for today and going over the weekend. 20 to 25 notes, due Monday. Students will work independently, so by yourself. You might want to pick one topic, your other partner pick another topic. The notes will be taken on the Source 4 note-taking form, which is below. It should have your name in front of it. You got where all the sources come from History Alive. It's by Diane Hart, so that can just be typed right into the document at the top. Pick one event that happened over the course of your person's life. Mine was Dred Scott, 1799 to 1858, so really only slavery worked. And then use paraphrase notes. 3 to 10 words, your own words. dates, so on and so forth. Do not copy paste, please. That's plagiarism. Don't do it. Okay? So if you have any other questions, check in with your partner or with the sub. Thank you very much.